Welcome back to Revit Basics. So today is Toposolids. Let's get started. So I already have my foundations in place, and now we would like to add a toposolid and excavate our floor and cut out our foundations out of that toposolid. Okay, so go to our ground floor plan. So the reason we would like to cut out our foundations and excavate our ground or our slab of our building is when you build a new building and you cut out all of those elements, you can now calculate how much earth needs to be excavated. Okay, how much earth are you going to have to put into a lorry and cart away? Okay, so it is valuable information to have. Okay, and adding in a toposolid also places your plan on site. Okay, wherever that might be, from Waterkloof to the Free State, wherever. Okay, depending on what the typography looks like, you can also model that in. Okay, so we want to go to massing and site. Okay, and here is the option for toposolid. So I'm going to click on toposolid. Now you can go and you can draw the boundary of your toposolid. Okay, I like picking a nice big block. Okay, I'm just going to make this semi-even. There we go. And I'm going to say finalize. It will freak out because it is overlapping with a few different elements. I'm just going to say don't attach. So if I go to my 3D view, you'll see there's my toposolid. And you'll see my floor is freaking out because the toposolid is currently overlapping with my floor. So if you select your toposolid, here on the top right, you'll see there's an option to excavate, and you can go and click on your floor. So if I were to go and hide my building, you can see my floor has been cut out of the toposolid. Okay, so that's awesome. Okay, now we want to cut out the foundations. So first off, let me show you what it looks like in a section if you do not. So if you zoom in, you'll see that that line is my earth, and because we cut out the slab, it goes underneath the slab, but it currently overlaps with my foundation walls and my foundations. Okay, we don't want that. We want to cut that out so that that thick black line runs all the way around my foundation and under my slab. Okay, so I like doing this in the 3D view the most. You could also do it in a section. That'll also work quite well. First off, I want to be able to see through this toposolid, so you can either do that with visibility graphics. If you hit VG and you go to your model categories and you go to T for toposolid there, and then you can up the transparency for that there. Okay, or you can click on it and you can right click and you can say override graphics in view by element, and then yeah, we can up the transparency. I'm going to push it up to like 80%, say apply and okay. So now we can see through our toposolid, which is amazing. Okay, now I'm going to select my toposolid, and then I'm going to go up here to the left to cut. I'm going to select cut, and I'm going to pick this option for multiple cut because I want to cut out multiple elements out of the one. Okay, select that, then select the toposolid, and then you can zoom in and start cutting out your foundations. This is a semi-tedious process, but it is definitely worth it in the end. There we go. All cut out. I'm going to hit escape a few times, select my toposolid, and I want to reset my transparency override. So I'm going to click on it, right click, go to override graphics in view by element, and then I can say reset. Okay, there we go. So if I hide my house, you'll see there are troughs where the foundations have been cut out. So if you select it, you'll be able to see the holes it has left. Okay, and as a result of that, if you go to a section, you will see that the toposolid goes around my foundations and not through it. Okay, that's toposolids. Also remember to join your foundations. So it looks like it overlaps. Just go to modify and click join, and then you can join your wall with your foundation, your wall to the floor, and the floor to the wall. Okay, and then vice versa all the way through. Okay, it just neatens up your plan, just that last little bit. Okay, now that we've finished cutting out our foundations and whatnot, I'm going to go back to my plan view, and I would now like to add a bit of typography to my toposolid. I would like the site to curve a little bit the way it would. Okay, so if you receive a plan with contours, you can actually add in those contours. Okay, so if you select your toposolid and you say modify sub-element and add points, you can go and place points along that contour line. Okay, I'm just going to add a few just to show you. There we go. Remember, the more points you add, the more accurate your toposolid will be, and the more evenly it will flow. But the more points you add, the heavier your model becomes. Okay? So if you select a point, you will see the elevation of that point. You can also see it here on the top right, and you can input a different height. So I'm going to grab this set. I would like to make that -500. Remember to hit enter. Okay, and I'm missing a point over there. I would like to add a point so it just keeps everything nice. And modify. There we go. Make that one -500 as well. Oh, I messed that up. Ugh. That one should be 0. Never mind. There we go. Looks better. And this edge I want to make -1.5. Okay. This side I'm going to make 2000, and that last piece I'll make 5000. Okay. So if you hit escape a few times, you'll go out. Now you can see my contour lines. If I go to 3D, I'll be able to see how my site angles and curves. You see it does look a little bit jagged over here. So obviously, like I said, the more points you add, the better it'll look. And you can always go and select individual pieces and move them up and down how you feel fit. Okay? So I can go and even out that if I wanted to. Okay. Now that you have all these contours, we can actually annotate and dimension these contours. So if you go to massing and site again, here's an option that says label contours. Then you can just draw a line, a few. Okay. If you zoom in, you'll see you have your contour annotations. Obviously, the scale of those would change depending on the scale of your drawings. So the smaller I would make my scale, so if I make it 1 to 50, they'll become a lot smaller. If I make this 1 to 200, you'll see they become a lot bigger. Okay, same as the rest of your annotations. Alright, and that is Toposolids.